When I ask something, I don't always know exactly right off, that moment. I'm trying to recall it. So I do a little, I have to think about it. I have to think about that thought. But see, I'm not limited in my thoughts about anything. I can get into it, and I can get into that moment and then recall exactly what was happening. But it's you want to be exact because you don't know what the other person is really thinking in regards to your answer. How will they imply upon it? That comes into question. So you need to, there's a little hesitancy there in all cases because you're just not sure what really somebody's after, and not to be hiding anything, but they can twist it around. So it's just like, words coming out from way before and thoughts from way before. You have to be more centered and remembering again, exactly what's happening at this moment, because it kind of overwrites a memory of something that was brought out before. And if you're recalling it from that other past time and you skip over this one, well, they're going to be, well, the story's a little different, Well, that's how it was in the beginning. But since I've talked to the other person, the other thoughts are let out just because it gave them thoughts. But it's just their thoughts and not mine. Just telling it like it is. Peace out. Hey, to the friend, brother up in the Mile High Country. Maybe it's a little, just thinking perhaps too thin in the oxygen. And they, get down to lower elevations so you can get a little more oxygen. And then go back up to the high country after, like a month stay. And then you go back up and see how, I'm just thinking about how that would compare, with things. The exactness of that, the timing, the breathing, Sedona would be a good place. They just recently had the fires, as you may have seen on TV, about Oak Creek Canyon, and that's just really sad. Up in Slide Rock area, it's a beautiful, it's a narrow canyon. You get the winding roads, 2-lane road. The growth down there in the trees is just, it's beautiful. There's actually grass, and from down in the Phoenix areas, that's kind of a rarity, naturally grown and not irrigated, But that fire is set down through there, through the cottonwood trees in the middle of these meandering creek, That's just really sad, I guess, burnt. I was up in the Bradshaws here just, a while back up to Big Burn. It's been, probably over a year, I don't know. But, it's just changed it there, and it hurt it, and it run it so bad. And those poor fire guys up there, the forestry guys, having to get bales of hay and carry them out and break them up and scatter them around. I think they would have figured some way from a helicopter that they could be bombed in a sort of way, but the helicopter blade would be spreading it around. So cut me a check on that one. It's just thoughts like they were telling you about, and I'd like to, hear back some more about your, some of your adventures in a Mile High City, and how your thoughts meander, and how your thoughts are able to meander about. Are they able to meander about, or are you like finding yourself limited in the thoughts in the area that you're living? And you know, my brother, that's a lot like the Sanic Encyclicism bism from Elanism. Boys, you know, I'm sorry, but you just didn't get that message, being of the Cain's blood. But, you know, when Jesus gave his life, he died. He was the Christ. And that's happened. And don't you notice the change in people? You know, they're not murdering, killing lavishly as once we all did. I mean, my brothers in Denver can understand that. That brought a change, that Christ. It bent time. It stopped time. And it gave time for the thoughts, the thinking of a better place, a better life, than this hashing and bashing and washing and gnashing at all that the rulers of this planet want done so they can gain some property. My friends up in Denver, they understand that? Why? That's such a perilous thought. Yeah, that's just a question. But then so what? But now on track, you must see that turning, that bending of time to stop, that revelation to stop, that time in life and the things that were being ruled over and because to be happened and the rule of their law to be carried on stopped. And there were some people, the stragglers, that just didn't want it. They disproved it. They did not believe in it. But, you know, I'm sorry. This is the way it is. And you, with the Muslims, I'm really sorry that, you know, you mix yourselves up with this kind of insanity, Islamic sanity. It's crazy. It's totally insane. And you just want for a better tomorrow, you know. Well, that's what we all do, and that's what we have here in America. Because in God we trust. And you notice how they've been trying to take it away? Have you noticed, any of you, how they've been trying to take it away? They take out the prayers out of the school. They don't want it associated with schools at all. They don't want that getting into the children because that would be a godly source. They want to put their governmental source into their the generals and that grow from children, you know, and just see how, you know, they take the concourse. But can you imagine you taking that out of the schools and putting God in the schools? And the bringings and the becomings of the Christ, and what that order caused, and the death and strife in the world, it should stop. There's no more stoning. There's no more killing. That's what that means. You know, we're all brothers. This is what this means. This is what we all want. This is what we have over here in America because we're protected by God. And they've taken away the 10 Commandments. You can't have it in the buildings. They're taking away in God we trust off the money. In God we trust. They keep taking and taking and taking and taking. But you know, nobody's sweating it because in God, do you get it? That's what we trust. Do you not get it? You can't take that away. Well, you imagine that old song. You know, you can't take that away from me. You can't take that away from anyone that's under Christ. And that law and that understanding that it gave. You can't take that away from us in America. And that's why the ornery cusses have brainwashed the Muslims into trying to help get rid of us. And this is freedom. This is real freedom, something which you really know not of, never experienced of, but your minds are just open, dumbfounded, and easily led in by programming, a false god, Muhammad. And you want the same things as in Christ's love. But there's no murdering, there's no killing, there's no frontline people. And that's what the people that have taught you to help in taking over and moving in just by population. But what they really have at the behind of them is a controlling source, and a way of life that they want it lived to and by their laws. And that's just like when the people came over here from England and they took it over from the Indians, and then now we got their laws. But they feared part of this thing with the Indian because they're probably part of the 10 lost tribes of Israel that traveled around hundreds and thousands of years and made it over here and settled, and as the American Indians. And that's why they did not completely geez, that word, some words just stick in there sometimes still, and obliterated, I need a drink of water. Jeez, I'm talking, I'm dry. So after this obliteration, they moved in their shit, and that's the way it's been, and that's what we're living under. And I'm thinking these freedoms and this love and this and God we trust, and the God of Christ, that His will be on earth as it is in heaven. And from what I'm reading around and understanding, and that understanding is growing to beyond, I don't know where it's going to stop. It doesn't look like it's going to stop. But it's just simply amazing. But that there's a belt around the earth. It's a shield. It's called the Van Allen belt. And we only discovered this maybe, a couple hundred years ago. Well, it's been known clear back like 6,000 years ago by people that had written books. And this book is on clay and stuff like that because, way back in the day and stuff, there wasn't much to write on, especially paper. Would you write a lie on it? Would you waste a piece of paper for a lie? It's just no way. They didn't have that kind of thinking. That kind of thought wasn't in there for them people, They told the truth about everything. That's the way they lived. But sent down here, and I haven't gotten into the history part of it yet, but just briefly, that Van Allen radiation belt is here around protecting the earth. And I notice how it protects it also from the sun and the CMEs that hit us. But this thing is said there to keep in those that have been sent down. And that's from God's heaven because, they were a bad sort. They were a nasty lot. And we sent them down here, just like the English sent over here to clear out the Indians, They sent down there to clear out their Indians, to bring about a better lot. Imagine that. So who's going to be this better lot? Think about it. Contemplate a little bit. Play it back over, listen again, and, put into thought there what? Because this radiation belt keeps in those that were sent here. Did you get that? And then I thought of atomic bombs and that blast that it goes, that big giant mushroom cloud that just blew out radiation and poisoning radiation and tons of poisoning plutonium into our atmosphere, up in the upper atmosphere. and my God, I mean, there's like they're trying to do something. They're trying to blast a hole through this Van Allen belt so these creatures can have more come back in, or they just want to leave now. You know, I mean, that's out there. That's in the books. It's written. I'm not making that up. But in the midst of all these bombings and stuff that they blew off and blew off and blew off, it's, you know, it's a shame. And all these cancers that people are catching and stuff, and like from Chernobyl when it went off, and 3 Mile Island, you know, some did go off then. And there's been others. And there's a Diablo Canyon in California. They're closing that plant down. It got so bad. I put pictures on there that I had of it up in 160 count per minute from that plant. And it's been it was right under Google, right under the first of that page there, about that plant. It was, you know, I was reporting on it. You know, something you have to say about this, an opinion, a reply thing. And I was the very first one under there with my. You know, the YouTube and that little pic of the Saturday Night Live gang there. That's what I put in, but I can't see it on there now. There's been lots of other things compiled in there and put under, and I've been watching that plant, and the readings have been way down low since. So, but I haven't watched it clearly every day, you know. Except for every day that I turn my computer on. So, I guess I can't say every minute, every hour, because there's times in between when I'm just doing other things. But I just thought that was interesting about that Van Allen belt. But I also know that it's protection from the CMEs, the coronal mass ejections from the sun that come at us. You know, just other thoughts that be, you know, and there's other things that are true. They be. And I think that belt is weakening because of the way I see it and things coming in. Before, when I guess if it starts getting hit too much, well, it starts weakening that belt. Oh my! I wonder if they know this. You know, weakening of that Van Allen belt, and this would be the time to best, if they're going to puncture a hole through something, would be one of the best time to do it when Van Allen belt is the weakest, you know. And I've seen things where it shows it. I'm not even going to mention it right now. Wow. I'm not even going to mention that right now. But I know it. But I don't want it known about so that someone could get in there and change it. Wow. I've got the pics because I take pics. Because I see things and I know sometimes they go off. You know, where do they go? How do they last? You know, where? And I take pics and then I have it for a reminder, because when it goes off, I still got it that was there. You know? Oh. I just wish that the Muslims in this world would see things and what it turned in Christ and what it needs to all go to. And, you know, how can I get this to everybody? You know, how do you do that? You know, I don't want to be I bet you could call him a governmental sponsor of Christ in the government. You know? And what are some of the most outspoken leaders right now talking about in the Bible? And they talk about God, and they have this charisma that's stirring all up. You know, with the Benny guys, and the other guy starts with a J, doesn't it? And imagine that. But they're just governmental sponsors of their governmental God. They want you to be incited with and excited with and have a little intensity in those moments with that mention, but never really getting down to the control part of it. And that's where they don't want you to be, because that's where they hold. Pretty funky, huh? Yeah, pretty funky. All right, brother in the high country, just video me. text me, comment. We give it, some, getting in-depth. In-depth recept. HDTV. KJ. Okay, I'm watching this movie over here. This is kind of interesting thing about, and I saw a guy there. That's what started the whole thing, is the guilt, and it seemed this guy was talking with guilt, but, and I talk like that myself. And I had someone say to me one time that, it sounds like you're telling a lie, And I didn't, what the fuck? I was telling you exactly as I can recall it in my thoughts and memory as it happened, not just blow it off like blah, 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 because there's a lot of detail in there that, that needs to be answered to, and that's what I try to recall from every freaking movement if I can. And I see this guy talking kind of like that, and he's lying about something, And Lord, I didn't know I'd come off like that, trying to tell the truth about something exactly, And I'm not going to be put into that thing where you just make shit up, just so the answer goes by. I've told some stories before, and not to be lasting memories, just a joke briefly at a moment, but then in the same kind of a moment try to say something else. It's it's the truth of the matter, and there was no attention paid at all. But when I made up this shit, it's like there was an interest started, and I'm going like, wow, what the hell is that? I mean, come on, guys, bullshitted, man, that's a cry in hell. Okay, I'm getting overtime here where Facebook can't handle it, so I got things to do, but it's just too warm right now. I get too hot. I could work out there in the shade maybe, but I know I can't do it right in that sun. F that. You have to climatize. Even after you've been living here, you have to climatize back into that if you've been out. It's like that, so. I'm wishing for a little rain because got a lot of birds here I'm feeding, and some of them are so regular. They were once wild, and they come flying up here. I see them over the house, and zoop, zoop, 3 houses and down, and zip land right in the yard. I mean, they know the spot. Because the other ones come out and they land all around, all over, and they just observe and see what's going on before they hop down closer and closer and closer and go to eating, I mean, geez, with, people killing them, and shooting at them and stuff, and, BB guns and all them kind of things. And, it would be pretty spooky too, Hey, there's some food. Don't just say that. No, I don't want to hear anything about the rain right now. I mean, I know there's no rain right now, but, listen. There's some food. Oh, I'm not hallucinating. Food, I mean, really, food. Okay? Just hold that thought a moment. Okay? Thought a moment. Real food. And okay, don't make me lose the thought. It didn't run me thinking, where the hell was I going to eat that shit at, But anyway, I know what this food is, and I've been close, and I got closer, and I drew closer, and I was right there, running around the edges of that border, and I went in there and I got something, and I got the hell out real quick, bang, but it's there. So we just have to just go in there and get some, and it seemed to be okay. I know. There's there's that pickup thing out front where they use to do stuff, and that's where they usually jump out of with those rifles, and they're shooting at us and shit, But hey, seems to be pretty cool here. Nothing like that going on. And he seems to be a pretty cool guy, and look at that. Oh yeah, you're right. There's birds down there right on the ground right now, and he's tossing the food out there, and they're not even flies. They're like, wow. Were we flying over the farmer place and had this chicken domesticated, and they were doing this? I mean, look at it. He's like domesticating doves. My goodness. Well, maybe we'll just, come on, let's just go down there right now and fly, you know. There ain't no harm there, you know. Oh my God, did you see that? What? I'm eating right now. No, on the fence right there. There's one of our brothers. And there's this carnivorous thing jumped up the back area of the fence up and grabbed him from behind and has bit into, and he's pulling. Look at that. Oh my God. Oh, jeez, there's cats out now. So we can't go outside of this fence here, okay? You got that? We have to stay inside this fence or in here, pretty well protected. There's when dogs come up, you just jump up, they don't flush up, whatever. So, that's the way it is when you got places you can go feed. But you don't have places to go feed, then things start getting a little angry. But indeed, to keep that control, you'd have to think about it. Talk to yourself about it. Talk yourself out of it. Boy, I could go on, you know, jeez. But it's getting a bit lengthy, so I gotta finish this show here. It's kind of interesting, things I've learned about that. And I can see what I'm not, so that's a good thing. Peace out.